This week, we pontificate on how uncomfortable it would be to sit on dice, raise cute little three-legged sheep, get really close to saying the F word, see how long it takes for Ryan to explain a game, and get friggin' jiggy with it. This and much more on this exciting episode of Rolling Doubles Podcast. Welcome to Rolling Doubles, a podcast about two board game enthusiasts who have never met and roll the dice on friendship. I'm Professor Jacob Russell.
And I'm doing great, Ryan Schneider. Happy 2019!
Happy 2019 to you too. Is that why you're doing so great?
That is why.
New year?
It is a new year. It's a fresh new start, and I've made some goals for myself that I'm already executing on, and I just feel great. I'm doing great.
That's good, because people who make resolutions usually fail within 2 weeks. So if you're already done with them, then that's fantastic.
I'm on my way to.
You're on your way.
Yeah, I have a roadmap for completion. It's going to be a majority of the year, I would say, but I feel like I've been doing well on resolutions. Like, I made a goal to be able to start working out more regularly. Again, participating in board games more regularly. So this is just kind of continuation. This 2019 is a continuation of 2018. Holy crap, it's 2017. It's 2018. Now it's 2019. Oh my gosh. Where are flying cars? 2020.
I know.
Where are they?
The year of Blade Runner, right? Doesn't Blade Runner take part in this year?
No. Is it 2040? I have no idea. I've never seen it. Please don't at me.
That's true. I've never seen it. I don't know why I brought that up. I've never seen that movie. Oh, that's really funny. I know. I'm excited. I actually just made some documents for a class I'm teaching, hence the Professor Jacob Russell, and I put 2018 on everything, but it's totally 2019, so that's a strong start. So happy 2019 to you.
Indeed. And I don't know about you, but I had a great holiday, and I played a lot of games during this holiday. In fact, a lot of repeat gaming this holiday with games, which doesn't normally happen. Normally, it's a lot of let's see what's new, let's learn something new, but this time at least for me, I broke out some games that hit the table a lot, and I'm going to talk about a few of them today.
Ooh, I'm going to talk about some as well. I did play some new ones. I did play some old ones as well, which we'll talk about later. But one game I did play that I'm very excited to talk about is the second season of Dice Throne. This is by Roxley Games, designed by Nate Chatelier and Manny Tremblay. This is a sequel to Season 1, hence the name Season 2. And this is essentially just a combat fighting game with dice. So everyone just picks a player, and they have a tableau of abilities that you can execute or activate according to what you roll. You roll a handful of dice. I believe it's 5 dice. And you roll it Yahtzee style, meaning you can roll it 3 times and reroll whatever you want. And depending on what you get is what you can activate on your player board. Now, that sounds really simple. That's because it is really simple, and that's one thing I love about this game. But each character also comes with a deck of cards, and these deck of cards can be abilities that you can upgrade on your player board, which adds some fun elements to it. You get a certain amount of combat points every round, and you can spend those combat points on these cards to either do instant actions that affect you or your other player, to help mitigate dice rolls, things like that. Or you can upgrade your own abilities. So I saw this game on Kickstarter a while back, and I was super interested, but I never dove in. I didn't do it, and I've regretted it super bad. Super bad? Is that a phrase?
It's a movie.
I regretted it super. Yeah, there you go. But then I saw it at my buddy's house. I went and bought Brass Lancashire from him.
Nice.
Yes. So now I have that in my collection. Excited to play that. But he had a copy of Dice Throne, and the box is beautiful. The production quality of this game is outstanding. And at this point, you really can't expect anything less from Roxley. I just realized I bought a Roxley game from him, and which led me to buy another Roxley game.
Yeah, you're 2 for 2 for Roxley.
I'm 2 for 2. That's really good.
Nice.
And so I went, and I was at my local game store, and I started chatting with the owner there, and he mentioned that he had one left because he backed some as a store, and he had one left. I was like, I'm in. So
he got you.
He got me.
He got you.
There's a battle chest, and there are 8 characters in this game, and each character has a game trays insert specific for that character. Game trays with a Z, like the official game trays people. Anyway, and each character is super different, and the game is so easy to pick up. The rulebook is fine. It worked for our first game. It got a lot easier after that first game, of course. But my wife and I have been playing this a lot, actually. We have played it 3 or 4 times at this point, and she wants to play it again. We haven't played all the characters yet, but there's so much replayability because one play you'll kind of discover how to play a character, and then you'll want to play that character again, and you want to see how they go against each other. But every time we play, our health points, and so you start with 50 health points, which is a lot, but it's always been within 5. Like, it's always been within 1 turn of each other, and it doesn't matter like who's first or whatever. There's no real first player advantage, and so it's exciting. It's exciting to see these different characters and play it. Now, I have no history with season 1 or anything like that. Have you played either season 1 or any of this one?
No, I have not. I've seen it a lot around Dice Throne. Season 2 specifically, I think, getting the hype just because it was at PAX U. Roxley was pushing it hard at their booth. And I've heard a lot of good things about season 2, so it's really good to hear that you've gone in and kind of attested to what they have done. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Magic the Gathering and Quarriors. Like, just mashed up together. Because it really seems like from pictures that you are doing that. You are essentially kind of picking an avatar, and you are rolling dice, and you're just having to pick and choose the type of abilities, making do with what you have. Maybe pushing your luck to be able to get that specific ability that you want to be able to get to execute on your opponent, or just being, getting lucky and being able to just do it right away for, I don't know, the ability to, I'm not sure really how it works, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from that, which is really interesting. Because I'm really thinking, like, when I see season 1 and season 2, I get the ideal of episodic stuff, right? So I'm really curious if this is something where, like, in season 2 they have different characters that come out like every month or every 2 months, or different scenarios, different cards, or what kind of designates the season 2, aside from it just being maybe the second iteration or what have you. But and I'll agree with you on the art style. I think it's fantastic. I think it's the same type of art that's being done with Tidal Blades and with Wonderland's War. I think the same type of vibe. It seems to me it definitely gives me that type of vibe. Manny Tremblay, I think, is the person where I'm getting that vibe from, who has this very like grandeur appeal and just this nice, just sleek, grand appeal is the best way they can probably describe it. But yeah, so far it seems like Dice Throne has been a hit. With you guys.
It's really been cool. Great. It's been so good that I'm tempted to go back and pick up season 1 because they are cross-compatible. But at the same time, when they announced season 3 in like Facebook or something, I don't know what the details are, but I'm definitely going to back season 3, and I'll probably just wait for that. Especially if they match the production style of 2. And just I think it's a really refined system from season 1 from what I've seen. I know there's a few copies of season 1 available at my local store here that, I don't know, I could just go pick it up and just see how they are compatible with each other, because we do enjoy it that much. And I'm actually surprised this worked with my wife. This isn't typically a game that she enjoys, and she was super skeptical going in, but I really do appreciate that she'll try any game once, and she really just grasped on. Like, it's not a super long game. A game will take us maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes tops if we're pushing it. But it's really great to just pick up and play for the last thing before we go to bed, things like that. Yeah, it's a great game. I highly recommend it. Dice Throne Season 2 by Roxley Games.
Before we end on that, there was one other question I had.
Oh, yeah.
So you received the battle chest, which has 8 different characters. Looking on pictures online, it seems like do they come with boxes that contain different mashups, or are those separate?
So, excellent question. I think you could, on the Kickstarter, you could purchase sets of 2. The pledge level that my game store ordered was like, I think it's the battle chest one. So it comes with a thick cardboard style box. Think like Scythe legendary box, but not quite as big, but that level of quality.
Sure.
And with all 8 characters in it, and it did come with some a deck of promo cards and like a comic or something like that. So I don't know how they're selling it at retail outside of the battle box, if you can buy them just 2 characters individually, and how those are matched up together. I don't know. I just saw the battle box, and I was like, Jacob Wanty, Jacob Gotti.
What's like the MSRP or the price on this game? If you're,
I want to say $80. I think it's $80. I don't remember what I spent, but I want to say it's about $80.
Okay. Because I mean, because it's really interesting if they do decide to do kind of like a battle pack type of thing that you could maybe get for like 30, right? Because I'm looking online here, they have some pictures from Essen. There's like Tactician versus Huntress. There's like a Cursed Pirate versus the Artificer, and there's like a Seraph versus the Vampire, which to me, it seems like if they're like, much like dual decks in Magic, right? Taking that type of stance of being like, what are characters that are grabbing you or grabbing you and your partner that you want to be able to try? Having that be like $30, you'd be able to like play and choose for a lower price than say maybe you're just not interested in like 4 or 3 other of the characters in the battle box. Why would you spend $80? So I do wonder if Roxley will do something like that. I haven't seen anything at my local game store, but that would seem really interesting to at least kind of, like I said, lean into that dual deck type of.
That's true.
Skew, right?
Yeah, I would easily spend $30 on 2 more characters of this quality, like easily. Without even thinking about it. I think it's okay. Here's the thing. It's a very simple game, right? A lot is going on, but it really is just some cardboard and dice. And I realize I just explained like every single board game, but there's a lot going on. And $80 for what you get, I think there's a ton of gameplay in that. But I think I could see how some people could maybe like hesitate because you're only getting 8 characters. But I really think there was a lot of depth in these characters depending on how you upgrade them and different strategies you do. But yeah, if they brought out like new characters, man, I would get behind that so easily. I just really, really enjoy this game.
Yeah. It looks like 2. It goes up to 6 players, and so you can do 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, or even a free-for-all. So could you kind of like estimate in terms of like whether you were to go like a 2v2 or a 3v3, like would that, do you think it would really kind of lengthen the game, or do you think it would still kind of be this like brisk pace in terms of the gameplay?
So I was actually talking to my wife about that, and I don't think I would ever want to play this with more than just 2 people.
Interesting. Okay.
There is some downtime because you're trying to figure out like what to do with your dice roll and things like that. Now, I've never tried more than just us 2, but the 2-player experience is so great. I don't want to lengthen it. I don't want to add a lot more downtime. And honestly, I haven't looked at the rules for anything more than 1v1. So maybe like there's simultaneous turns or something like that. I don't exactly know. But turns can take some time as you try and figure out how to allocate your dice. So I don't think I would want to play with more than just 1v1. But it works so well at that level.
Good to know.
Yeah. Dice Throne, Season 2 of Roxley Games.
There's been a game that is really interesting that I know about it because I haven't really seen it. It's been coming up in a lot of stores recently, but that game is called Silk. Silk is this game by DEVIR, which is like a Brazilian South American publishing company that involves cute little silkworms.
Super cute.
The designer behind this game is Luis Renedo, and artist is Rock Espinet. I apologize if that pronunciation is incorrect. So, Silk is a game where you are silk farmers, and there's like these really cool animated characters of you being like this hardy old gentleman with like a blunderbuss gun, and you have your mastiff with you, your dog, and you have like these really cute silkworms that are spindling silk for you, and the objective of the game is to essentially be the best silk farmer that you can, and to prevent the other silk farmer from getting more silk than you, and to also prevent the evil Ukami, which is like this kind of dark creature that can come and eat your silkworms, basically capture them, bring them to the den, and if by the end of the game you don't rescue them, they will take negative points off of your end game scoring, which is like weird. I don't know, it's like the Ukami isn't like super scary, but it's also kind of menacing. In any case, this is kind of like an abstract puzzle game, which doesn't feel like, when you were to maybe take a look at this on the shelf, it doesn't really look like it, but there's a lot going on here between Silk, and I'll tell you why. The game is for 2. I played it 2 players. and it's a 4x5 grid. And there's two sides. There's a barren side, which is a point that would score 0 points. And then there's like 1 to 3 point levels of different types of like lush grass sides that you can get. Like there's the farm yellow, like hay style. There's like rocky plush grass. And then there's actually like lush, just regular green grass. And then you start off the game by kind of like placing your silkworms based upon these different types of rules. And then you also place your nurseries, which craft or nurse or raise different silkworms. Then you have your shepherd, and then you have your mastiff that also exists there. And it kind of has this popper. It kind of has this rock, paper, scissors mechanic to it, where a shepherd can move silkworms and other mastiffs, but can't move the okami. The mastiffs can scare away the okami and silkworms, but can't scare away other shepherds. And then you have the ukami that can like eat silkworm. It's like there's like these varying restrictions that happen with movement, and they all kind of have to occupy their own space. There's a lot behind it with just kind of this simple game. And every player's turn, you roll a die, or you roll 2 dice, and you then start off your turn by raising a silkworm. And then there's different actions. You can take 1 through 6, and you'll do 2 of the same or 1 of different values. And they're like raising silkworms, moving, scoring, moving the okami, and there's another one that I can't think of at this moment. But what's interesting about this is that you can manipulate the face of your die by spending points that you accumulate in the game, and we're talking end game points for scoring. So you have to like take some of your points that would score at the end of the game to actually move the dice to an action that you want to be able to do. The last action you can do is building a wall. I just remembered that. There's a whole building wall segment where you can kind of prevent your shepherd or your mastiff or your ukami to basically kind of move with these walls, and kind of like Carcassonne style a little bit, or I'm trying to think like Settlers of Catan, where you can kind of build the longest wall, or you can build these enclosures for points, which is interesting. But yeah, there's this really fascinating action system of being able to kind of wager your points to do what you want to be able to do. And there's like this combo mechanic where like what you can end up doing is like, if you have the action to move, you can choose your shepherd to run into the space with your dog, and then your dog gets bumped, which is moving to another adjacent tile, which can bump an ukami onto your opponent's silkworms tile, and they would all be eaten based upon this whole series of like how the ruling system works, or the whole tile per character system works. It's fascinating. So it becomes this puzzle, and being able to determine like, you know, another action is nursing. You can place a nursery down. I'm just like remembering this as I go, just because I'm just trying to like, I played it this Sunday, and there's just like so much in terms of like very unique special rules. Like the whole game to play is easy, but there's like so many different conditions and things that you have to pay attention to as you play this game, that makes it a little bit hard to wrap around, at least the first game. The second game went a little bit better. But yeah, again, this whole comboing system, and like silkworms can be pushed off to the mountainside, which are basically just retrieved into your own reserve. And again, as you're getting to the point or silk point peak of like 30 points for a 2-player game, which ends the game, which your opponent can still come back and win, but if you're the first 30 points, you're most likely going to win. There's like another turn for people to score, and there's like different objectives that you can score throughout the game. Like, can you like remove all of your silkworm reserve, or can you build the longest wall, or can you build this enclosure? Like, there's so many different things that you can play for. There's so many things that you can try to do to like punish your opponent. There's a little bit of like that take back with the different types of actions you can do. Each time that you harvest from different types of tiles that you can eat from, like you do that, and then you have to bump to another tile, and you have to make sure that you're like following all these sorts of rules. As I'm explaining this in like my really scattered way of doing it, I do want to say that there is like an actual solid abstract design here with a lot of really cute production with the miniatures and things that I think all play well together at a reasonable price point. I paid for like $30 for it. Just beware.
Say, it looks super cute.
Yeah,
like those silkworm meeples. Okay, think like the sheep from Agricola with a third leg sticking right down the middle. It's really funny.
Yeah,
it looks great.
And see, what's interesting too is like all this game could have been was about sheep herding, right? There's nothing stopping this game stopping it from being like a sheep herding game, but they really took this theme of being silkworm farmers, and like that's what's interesting. I don't think I would have been drawn to a game about sheep herding, even though it would have been like this. I think this theme actually does this game a favor with what you're doing, and makes kind of like the silkworm like I get a real spider vibe off of it because of the silk, but that whole aspect I think just draws me in that much more. And I think about this now because as I'm starting to go into 2019, I really want to get games in my collection that I want to keep that I played 5 times and being like, is this a game that I've now played and got the gist of? And I'm like, I'm good to like part with it and go, be sold, or what do I want to keep it? And this is a game that I feel like I really want to be able to keep past my 5 games, my 5 plays. I think I'm trending that way. Now we'll see with time, but I'm really enjoying my time with Silk.
So I rudely interrupted you, and you were saying beware about something with this game.
Yeah, beware that this game, as you are teaching it and learning it, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of rules that you have to pay attention to, and the rule book does an okay job at like letting you know. There's an instance in which that, like, again, each specific pawn, like a shepherd and a mastiff and the ukami, needs to be on its own tile. And then it says, like, you can only move things onto a tile and then things move off. But then there's, like, comes these conditions of, like, what if you move an ukami onto, like, silkworms? Does that work? No, you actually like, there's things like, can you move silkworms onto the ukami, right? No, it has to be the ukami moves onto the silkworms. Because there are just things that can happen where you move you move your shepherd into a mastiff, who moves someone else's shepherd onto an ukami, or so. There's like I said, there's like some crazy comboing that can happen where you end up having like your own shepherd bumping your own silkworms onto an ukami, and that doesn't seem right. Like, as a farmer, you would never send your silkworms to an ukami. It doesn't make any sense, and that's because there's a very specific rule, and they're saying that the ukami can only move onto a tile with silkworms. So you have to position your comboing as such. So, as I said before, just beware that I strongly recommend trying this game, and I strongly believe that there is a really great game here, except for I feel like some of the rules for it being an abstract are a little bit hard to get your head around. But I think once you play a game, that second game, third game, fourth game, the advanced strategies come to play. And I think that's where the game becomes a little bit brain burning, and you end up having to try like that 60% great play versus the 40% suboptimal play. And that's what I like, figuring out those types of puzzle games, and just the production and art value behind it I resonate with so well. If you see it in the store, at least check it out, give it a try.
So it's worth the effort of getting through the rules then, and those weird combinations you're saying.
I think so, yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's honestly, this sounds great. And I like what you're talking about that 5 play test. Like, if you can play it more than 5 times, then it's worth keeping. I over the past week or so, I separated an entire shelf of games, like a Calyx shelf worth of games, like a 2x4 Calyx shelf of games that I am ready to depart with.
Yeah.
To do that same thing, like to refine my collection. And we talked about this a lot last year as we were doing the podcast about having quality over quantity. So it's really, I think that's a great barometer. Like, if you're going to play this more than 5 times, it's totally worth keeping in your collection. And honestly, like, most of the games on the shelf are games I've only played once or twice, and I don't see myself playing them again in the future. So this definitely sounds interesting, something new, something fresh. I dig it. That sounds cool.
Yeah, that's Silk by DEVIR.
DEVIR. Do they do anything else? Have you played anything else by them?
I did check out their catalog. Nothing that I've seen, but they do a lot of publishing in, like, I want to say, like they have different, they're like a worldwide company. And they do, I think, different publishing for certain countries. I believe, like, there's like a Brazilian or South American, like, sector, and there's like a European one. So they like do a lot of distribution for, I think, outside of the US. This is the first time that I've seen a DEVIR game that's been published by them out in the wild for purchase. So I think cool. At this point, my research states that they're a fairly large company.
That was cool.
Yep.
Awesome. So one game I've been playing, or that I played, finally. Okay, so I have a few games of shame that I've owned for years and never played. One of those, I can scratch off that list. I have finally played.
Congrats.
The Dragon and Flagon. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that. The Dragon and Flagon by Stronghold Games. This is designed by Jeff Engelstein and his family members, I guess. There's Brian Engelstein and Sydney Engelstein. I don't know the relationship.
Family affair.
It's like father, son. I don't know. Anyway, daughter. I have no idea who Sydney is.
Cousin.
Anyway. Yeah, sure.
Second removed. I don't know.
Second removed. Their dog. Maybe they named their dog Sydney.
That's a smart dog.
Yeah, it's a really smart dog. So this, and it is published by Stronghold Games. So what this is your classic program movement game, a la. What's that? Other games that do the same thing. Hold on. Okay.
So programming.
Programming. A Robo Rally.
Robo Rally. Root. Erie.
The train one. What's the train one called? Hold on, I have it. It's on my list to sell.
Is it Mechs and Minions?
No.
Robo Rally.
It's a train game. It's a 3-dimensional train.
Camel Up?
Colt Express.
Oh, okay. I was close. I get Colt Express and Camel Up mixed up all the time.
Oh, yeah. It's nothing like Camel Up, but it is a lot like Colt Express. Actually, it's a lot like Colt Express, where you have a hand of cards and try and program movements, but things change, so your program doesn't always go through. But the thing with this one is that it is a bar brawl, with pirates and swashbucklers and magicians and ninjas and just whatever they want to throw in there, having a fight, and they are all fighting over the Flagon, the Dragon and Flagon.
Okay,
it's like no, hold on, I've got this.
Okay, hey, all right, I need to make a comment. I'm gonna break a rule, but I want you to finish.
No, what? I want you to break that rule.
Remember how I said I was gonna be nice?
It's all you.
Okay, I do not like the word Flagon. Like, there's something
word
about Flagon like just rubs me the wrong way. Like, I'm really anxious to hear, but there's something about the word Flagon that literally I can't get over. I'm a dummy. I don't get it. I just Flagon. I'm like, ugh. Like it's a word that just like, I don't know. Anyways, please continue, but I just must express my discontent for the word Flagon. Continue,
on that
please.
Note, I 100% agree with you. Like, I have to say the Dragon and Flagon. I can't just say, oh, let's go find a Flagon. Yeah. No, it makes me uncomfortable. I agree with you 100%.
Okay, that's really interesting that we have that type of vibe, but
it's
like,
a strange word.
This is a weird title. Title.
Well, in high school we called the girls who did flag. I don't know what it was called.
Yeah, like flag twirling.
Yeah, flag twirling. We call them flaggots, which is a terrible word, and I never felt comfortable saying that. Even this moment right now, I feel uncomfortable in my bones saying that word.
Flaggots?
Yeah.
Like Rockettes, but like flaggots.
Yes, exactly. Sure. Or like, anyway.
Okay,
But anyway. Okay, so the Dragon and
my wife
Flagon,
was a flaggot.
Yeah. See, and I was in marching band. There's some history there. I wanted to get a trombone to be in a ska band, and the only way to do that was to be in marching band my junior year of high school in Randolph, New Jersey.
Do you think gun twirling, they'd be called gunettes?
I do think that, yes.
And that was Dragon and Flagon, everybody. Just
so Dragon and Flagon.
A game where you talk about whatever the heck you were in high school.
Man, high school was a weird time.
It was a weird time.
So in this game, you are programming your movement. Everyone has a very similar deck of cards with a few variations to make a deck their own. There's a ton of different characters, and they each have their own unique deck. But I'd probably say about half the deck is the same for everyone. But there's anything from, like I said, pirates to magicians to ninjas, and they all kind of do something different. But this board is set up three-dimensionally, partially, I should say. So it's a board, and it's the inside of a bar, and you have rugs, and you have tables, which are actually like three-dimensional cardboard tables, and you have wooden chairs and barrels and mugs and other things that you can interact with, right? You can throw chairs, you can pull a rug, you can push a table, you can attack in spaces, and cards are what do everything. So every action that you do, and anything that you do in the game is associated with the card. So if you're next to a rug, you could play your pull rug card, but if when that card is activated, the rug's no longer there or around you, then it doesn't happen, right? It's that common thing, which I fell in love with that aspect with Road Rally. That's not what it's called. Road Rally?
Robo Rally?
Robo Rally, thank you.
Road Rally? What the heck, dude?
Road Rally, what's that game? With Robo Rally back in the day, and I love that. And this does it well. It does it fine. I like this game more than Cult Express. There's actually a really interesting element of time in this game. So each card has a number on the top right that says how long the movement takes, and there's numbers along the outside of the board, and if you play a card that takes two time slots, then you move your token 2 up, but other cards can only take 1, so people could be going slower than you, and so there's a time token going around the board 1 square at a time. So if you play a card that could be super powerful, but then you're out for a couple of rounds not being able to do anything. And so it's really interesting. Is it worth investing the time to do these stronger moves? It is random because you're trying to figure out what the other players are going to do. So the randomness does come from players, though. It's not in-game randomness. Randomness. It's from the players. And honestly, it's fun. We weren't like amazed by this game. It's a harder game to teach having not played it, which is what I did, and it's because of that time element, trying to explain the timing of everything. And the programming is only 2 cards in advance. If you get stunned or dazed or whatever it's called, you have to plan 3 out in advance. But it's not a lot of advanced programming, and it's fun. It's one I want to keep in my collection for now, and definitely play it again. I do, like I said, I would play this over Cult Express. I don't have, as much as I loved Robo Rally, I actually don't have that anymore. I think we overplayed it and we didn't play it the right way, so we kind of got sick of it. But I do love that game as well. There are other programming games I like as well. This is probably on the simpler version, simpler end of things, where on the more complex side would be, hold on, Space Alert. Space Alert is probably the most complex one I've ever played.
Sure.
And this is far more simple than that and a lot more accessible because of it. Now, did you ever play this game? It's been out since 2016 is when it's published. Have you played it in any of those years that it's been out?
Nope, I haven't played this. I've seen it, and I've always cringed at the word flagon.
Yeah, I get it.
One thing, so there's been kind of a trend, kind of started in 2018, but I imagine it's gone on for a lot longer, but board games that tell stories. And I think what this game seems to do is tell a story about a crazy bar fight, right? Do you feel like it executed well on the idea of it being able to be like, oh man, I played this crazy game of Dragon and Flagon where I got in, I was like, like being able to like tell the story that you were in a bar fight. Does it do that or no? Like, can it tell a story like that?
It totally does. Like with me, I was stuck on top of tables. I couldn't get off because I kept getting pushed over, or I was trying to do something where I had like to jump off of a table to do it, and I couldn't because of one reason or another. So it was just super funny that I was in the middle of everything, just like stuck on tables because I couldn't get down. Also, the flagon, I should say, is a mug or something in the middle of the board that people can fight over, and if you are in possession of it, it gives you the ability to play the most powerful card in your deck, but only if you have that, and so people are fighting over that, right? But yeah, I totally think it does tell those kind of stories where, you know, like funny things happen, and it's not, once you start playing it, it's really easy to just kind of execute. The cards tell you what they all do, but yeah, it could totally tell those kind of stories.
Do you think the game, like, I didn't realize that this was a 3-dimensional game. Like, what does the 3-dimensional, what do the cardboard tables or the things that are in the game that bring it up from the table add to the game?
Yeah, excellent question. So, like for the table specifically, I was the swashbuckler, and a move I had was I could jump off the table while swinging my sword down onto the ground. But I have to be, I have to actually jump down in order to play that card. Or there's also like barrels around that you can kick, and they roll across in a straight line and knock anyone down in line and destroy chairs. You can pick up chairs and throw them. So it's not a dexterity game, which people thought it was when I was talking to him about this originally. But it does add kind of that table presence, and it gives context to what's happening. I think if everything was flat, it would not be able to tell the same stories. It would not be able to give context as to what is happening. The only flat thing is actually the rugs are just pieces of cardboard, but they actually don't move. Also, it does allow for variations in setup as well, but I think that three-dimensionality is definitely key to help, like you said, tell those stories or give context on what moves you are actually doing.
So do you have like little meeple characters or things that kind of denote where you are?
So that's funny. I was going to explain that too. It's not plastic miniatures. It's actually cardboard standees with the art. And art's not great in this game. I don't like that style of illustration in this game. I'm sure other people do. It's just not my thing. But they are all standees. But most of the three-dimensional components are wood, which is nice. Everything but the tables themselves, like the chairs are, the barrels, the mugs, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's honestly it's about standard Stronghold production quality, if that makes sense.
Yep, that definitely does make sense.
It's just on par with everything else Stronghold does. Take that what it may, if that affects you. It's the reason I don't buy Terraforming Mars type thing.
Sure.
So
interesting. There was like one other question that I can't think of, but
Flagon is the word. Is that the question? It's pronounced Flagon.
Flagon. Are you sure it's not Flurgan?
It's the Dragon and Flagon.
Flurgan. Oh yeah. Where does the dragon come into play in all? Is that like the Dragon Inn, or what part does a dragon come in?
The mug has a dragon on it.
Oh, for God's sake.
Maybe there's some history, but I don't know context. Like there's some sort of story. The game ends, and the end of the game is when the security shows up, which are like armed guards. So I don't know. I'm not looking for a deep theme in this game, right? I have no idea the context, but there is a dragon on the mug. Oh, also, fun side note, if you're playing with kids and you don't want to have the alcohol theme, you can replace it with a token that is a plate of chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, that's
which
nice.
Is adorable. I think it's so cute. And then also on the other side of the board, I should mention, is represents 2 pirate ships, and so you can switch from fighting in a brawl to fighting on 2 pirate ships. And I think it changes the rules a tiny bit, but I have no idea how.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
I like that kind of move. To be able to fight over chocolate. I might even be more interested in fighting over chocolate chip cookies. Just saying.
I think the name of the game would be different. A plate of chocolate chip cookies versus the Dragon and Flagon.
The one last thing I wanted to say is that for some reason I always got this mixed up with Red Dragon Inn.
Yeah, I can see that though. I feel like, okay, so in that one, you're trying not to get too drunk, right? I've actually never played it. I've heard good things though.
Yeah, I have no idea. For some reason, I see the both of them, and I think it's just because Dragon exists in the game, and they both involve kind of being in bars. So,
and flagons.
Yeah, so many. Let's move on, man. Talking about flagons is just getting me all salty. I don't understand why.
No, I get it. That is the Dragon and Flagon by Stronghold Games. Flagon.
The last game I want to be able to talk about is the follow-up to the CMON release. What I think is like one of the first Euros, if not the first Euro that CMON released, called Lorenzo il Magnifico. This game I'm talking about is Coimbra. Coimbra was an Origins release last year, 2018, had its retail release shortly thereafter, but Coimbra is a Euro designed by Flamina Brazzini and Regino Gigli, with the artist being Chris Quillams, which I like that. Chris Quillams. That's just that just is a great name. Just like it's very punctual. Chris Quillams.
I did not know that this was related to Lorenzo Il Magnifico.
Yeah, so
That's interesting.
Brazzini and Gigli are some of the primary designers on Lorenzo Il Magnifico. So this is kind of considered to be the follow-up. Whether it's considered the sequel or not, I don't really know. There's a lot of similarities, which I'll try to get into. But again, the artistry is done by Chris Quillams, which I think he has done a wonderful job in doing. And the publisher is Eggertspiel, which Eggertspiel is more of the higher end kind of complexity or Euros from the Plan B umbrella, which is interesting. So I think next move is like Plan B for Azul and Reef. And then Plan B has their own stuff. And then Eggertspiel is like that separate company, but...
From like big dummies to big smarties.
Exactly. Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. You feel me. So, first and foremost, have you played Lorenzo?
I have. It's on my shelf right now. I've played it a couple times, but only at 2-player, and I don't really like how it works at 2-player. I think it would be fantastic at 4. It's also probably been at least a year since I've played it. So the answer to your question is yes.
Okay. So yeah. But it's been a while though.
Yeah.
So in order to kind of understand Coimbra and how it works, there's always going to be this association with Lorenzo because there is a lot of combination between the two, and there's a lot of thematic ties. So, for instance, first and foremost, let's talk about the thematic artistic ties that this game has. We're dealing with like... I don't know whether it'd be 15th, 16th, 17th century, but we're dealing with a lot of old school. Old school is even a bad way of explaining it. I don't really know how to be able to explain it, but it deals a lot with kind of like old European
Renaissance era.
Thank you. That type of specific character art, that specific type of illustration, where in Lorenzo, what you're doing is you have like, I think it's Italian. Obviously, when I think about Lorenzo, I think it's going to be more Italian, but you have these different families that you can buy for their different unique abilities. And essentially you're hiring them, being able to execute them in this like engine building process, and scoring points that way. And
so would you say it's more Northern Italian Renaissance or Southern Italian Renaissance?
Oh my God, I have no idea.
I interrupted you for that, by the way. I hope you appreciate that.
I did.
Good.
You flagging?
I deserve that.
So Lorenzo does that. And then Coimbra is like the same type of idea in a way that it's like in Portugal, but instead of different families, it's specific sects. So you have like the religion, you have money, you have military, and you have like victory points, like in terms of like the different, I don't know, sets or things you can do in the game. So the main thing with these two games is dice rolling, right? You're using either like dice action selection to be able to pick and choose like how you want to be able to do the different types of actions in the game. So in speaking directly towards Coimbra, because again, I've played Lorenzo, it's been a really, really long time, but I'm just going to start talking about Coimbra because I just recently played it. What you do at the beginning of the game is you set up for 3 players. We played 3 players, so we set up for 3 players, and you start off the game by having like these 4 different like phase cards. So there's phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you pick 2, and they are either purple, green, orange, or gray. And gray is military, green is points, orange is like the money, and then purple is like religion, or it's moving in this case, which we'll talk about here in a second. You pick these cards and essentially you start off, that's how you start off the game. It's essentially the little jump start that you need to be able to get going. And then what you're going to do is there's like 3 rows of 4, which are different characters that do certain things that can kind of combo off each other. So you do that, you roll then a bunch of different dice. And these dice, there's 1 white die, there's like gray dice, orange dice, green dice, and purple dice. And you roll all these die, and starting with the first player, so it's kind of variable turn order, you pick one of these die, and you put it in this nice little 3D printed kind of like castle thing, and you place it in this track in terms of whether or not you want to bid on one of the cards, or whether or not you want to put it in this 1 through 6 track in which you can kind of pick a thing for free, which is like these instant abilities that give you stuff. And how the track works is that the person who, so like if you roll an orange 6 and you draft that die and you place it onto the board or the specific track that has all these different characters on it, that means that the highest die roll in that track gets to pick first. However, the face on that die also corresponds with how much of that specific like value that you so how much of that specific value you have to spend on that character. So this is I'm trying to sort this to make sure I explain this correctly. So there's two different types of like money in this game. There's military points and there's actual gold coins. And each of these different like families or these different sets that you're working with, green, purple, gray, and green or whatever, they all have like these people that do certain things for that specific category, and then they have either a gold or military icon on them. So if you draft an orange 6, that means that you have to pay 6 coin for one of those specific people that are there. So by drafting first, you spend more money, theoretically. But if you draft lower, you get the least pick, but you don't have to spend as much, which is like this interesting combination. And then the first row that you get, it goes the other way. So it goes 1 to 6. So if you draft a 1, you place it up there, then you have the ability to draft first out of like these 4 different tiles that like net you, additional, monies in military points or within gold points, or can get you more crowns that put you up in the player position, because player position is tracked by the different crowns that you have at the beginning of a phase. And then you buy the things that you want to do, you go through that whole process, and then you go into the income phase. And the income phase is when you essentially execute on all the different types of dice that you did. So there's different tracks for getting points, military, coin, and movement. And if you drafted a 5 orange, that means that you would then gain coin based upon how much your specific token has moved up on that track. And it's all different thresholds. And you do that the same 3 different times. Are you following me so far?
Totally. I'm actually looking at a picture as you're explaining this.
Very good. Okay.
Sense. Yeah.
So I'm getting close, right? I'm like I'm a little bit more than halfway there. So it's pretty self-explanatory. If you draft a gray die, you get military points equal to where you're up on that track. How you move things up on that track is based upon the cards that you buy during the previous phase, where you're drafting dice and the highest value draft first and spends whatever type of card that you want to build. And then what ends up happening is that once you buy that character, it comes with like orange 3, and that means you can then move up the track 3 spaces for that orange track. So the more people you spend, the more farther up you get on that track. Okay, so like the thing is that these dice and cards, they do like they're utilized for a lot of different things. So there's like a lot to unpack with all this type of stuff here, which I hope I'm doing an okay job at doing. Mm-hmm. But what's weird is that like after the first round, it all immediately clicks, and then you can kind of get into it, which is crazy, I know, based upon how I'm explaining this, but yeah. Anyways, so you do all of that, and then there's this aspect of the faith or the religion called moving. So in the middle of this map, there's like this whole, or in the middle of the game board, there's a map, and you start off in the middle, and there's all these different monasteries that exist that all have special unique abilities. And for you being able to invest in faith or religion, you're essentially visiting these different monasteries and putting a disc there. And when you do that, you essentially gain the unique or instant effect of that. So it's like, oh, you get to move up the purple track 3, or you get to move up the green track 3, or you score points equal to the amount of other monasteries you visited, or some other shape, other weird thing that goes. Okay? So you do all that. All right? That's not it. All right? There's more.
But wait, there's more.
The last thing that you end up doing, like, so anyways, in between all that, you find player score or player position. All right, that happens. That happens with crowns. All right, just forget about that. Not really important. The last thing that you have to do is you can then go on a voyage. I don't understand why you want to go on a voyage, but you can. you can spend gold to go on voyages, which is essentially betting that certain things, like if you're going to visit the different levels of monasteries that exist, you're going to get 2 points for each one of the different ones that you visited. Or like you're going to just like, there's so many different voyages or endgame condition point values that you can do that will net you more points that you can spend on. Yeah. Like, I think that's it. And then you do it again 3 more times. It's, it's like, best way I can explain this game is if Clank met Lorenzo. That's how I can explain this game. So if you like the exploring of Clank, but then you just want a ton of that dice action selection of Lorenzo, like Coimbra's your game.
Have you played The Voyages of Marco Polo?
No, I've heard of it though.
Because it kind of reminds me of that a tiny bit as well, where there's dice rolling and like going on voyages across a map. And, you know, it's not exactly the same, but that it does sound like it have elements of that as well, which I love. It's a fantastic game, and this looks amazing. Like, this looks like a game that I could definitely get into a year ago. Like, now at this point in our life, in my house, like, I don't think we could like take the time to play this kind of game.
Right
now with 3 players, how long did it take?
2 hours.
Okay, that's not.
And
is that after learning?
Yep. Yeah. So basically the game was set up when I arrived. We went through it in about 10-15 minutes. We went through our first round, and then we were like, oh, okay, this is how this works. I took off to a fairly explosive lead, and then one of the guys, John, just basically crushed us all. Like, awesome. It was like he had 166 points, I had 170, and my friend Marshall had like 78 points. Because like essentially it got to the point where my friend John could essentially move throughout the whole map, and he was like just doing laps around us and was essentially activating everything. So yeah.
Is this a game that you want to play again?
Yes, I do. I would love to play Coimbra again. I don't know if I would own it just because I just don't think I would want to own it. I'm really glad I played it. But I don't think I'd own it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I love, honestly, the aesthetics are amazing. And so I saw this box originally at a game store, and it kind of looked like a Kwanchai Moria, just a tiny bit at first. Like I saw that, and it's not at all him, but it just looks really good.
Yeah, all the componentry is nice.
Actually, about that, the dice are in those little plastic castle things you put them in. Mm-hmm. Is that so when you move them around they don't roll accidentally, or what's the point of those?
No, so what ends up happening is when you draft a die, you have to put it in your own little 3D printed castle, because when it comes time to actually resolve that 1 through 6 or 6 through 1 type of resolution, you need to be able to know who drafted the orange 4, who drafted the green 2, right? And so that ends up coming back onto your player board, and then you end up taking them off when you start getting income, which is essentially executing and getting the different type of, I don't know, resource that you get for that color.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so there's like, you know, in terms of like how a Carl Chuddick game would work, like in Red 7, where a one red just has this multitude of different things it can do. Coimbra does that same type of concept, but with dice, where the face of the die means something, the color of the die means something on different sorts of things, on levels that you need to pay attention to. It's one of those games that once you play it, you get it. And it's just going to be one of those where you need that second, third, fourth, fifth play in order to be like, okay, this is how I need to be able to start drafting because of where I'm at the game at this time. But, you know, this is kind of like a hard learning game that I think might put some people off and being like kind of exhausting, right? They're like, okay, fine. I finally got this. I finally was able to complete this. I didn't do too well. And it's going to be kind of a crapshoot to see whether or not people come back. But I know there was a lot of hype around in Origins about this game, and I think it is deserved. I think it's a great successor to Lorenzo, and if I were to have owned Lorenzo and gave it up, but I'm pretty confident if I had to choose between one or the other, I would definitely go with Coimbra, just because of the game. I think just the visuals itself is very pleasing. So
Lorenzo's also on my to sell shelf. So
peace out, Lorenzo.
Peace out, Lorenzo. Also, how good is Red 7?
Red 7's fantastic.
I loved that game. I haven't played it in a while. That was one of those games where I bought it for everyone for Christmas one year.
Oh, cool.
That was the Mind this year, by the way. I gave out like 4 or 5 copies of the Mind to family and friends. But yeah. Anyway, that's not the game we're talking about. But
the
I
game,
forgot about that game.
Yeah, the game that we are in fact talking about is Coimbra by Eggertspiel.
Eggertspiel. Awesome.
Eggertspiel.
Tis the season to play party games the past few weeks, am I right?
You are right. Fa la la
Yeah,
la 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 la.
Yeah. So with my family in town, I had some family in from New Jersey, and it's always like the past few years, it's always just kind of a struggle to find good games that work with everyone. People aren't really into board games in my family, which is fine. Every year I try valiantly just to force games on them, and I think I found ones that actually work. And of course, it's more party style games, right? In the past, I've tried things like, gosh, I don't even remember anymore. I think I've blocked
Betrayal.
it out of my memory.
Pandemic.
No. Way too heavy. Like, oh, okay. One that worked a while ago was Word on the Street. Have you ever played that one?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, fantastic family party game where there's a long row of tiles with alphabet letters on them.
Okay.
I don't know why I said alphabet letters. They're just normal letters. From the
regular
alphabet.
letters. Right. Yeah.
There's no other kind of letters anyway. And so it's not every letter, but the bulk of them. And you're broken into 2 teams, and something happens where you think of a word, and when you say that word or spell that word, you move every tile of a letter in that word over to your side.
Right.
And there's like 3 spaces on your team side, and you're trying to pull the tiles off the board completely. So it has this great back and forth. Anyway, highly recommend Word on the Street, but that's not any of the games I put on my list. A game this year that worked, that's actually been around the media
sphere.
Sure.
World.
It's called, the media people. It's been around. It's called Just One. And this is by, oh crap, I didn't put this, but it's by, okay.
Repo.
Thank you, Repo. It's by
Saved
them.
your butt.
Whoa, I was going to say the people who did Concept, because it reminds me a lot of Concept.
Yeah,
but
Repo
in Just
Productions.
One,
yeah. They have the sombrero hat.
Yes, they do. Awesome games. Love them. This one is no exception. Probably the simplest party game I've ever seen. It's everyone's working together. One person draws a card with 5 words on it, numbered 1 through 5. They say number 3. Everyone else can see that what number 3 is, and they're trying to write on this little cute whiteboard tent thing just one word to help the person guess what his or her word is. So everyone does this, and then once they're all done writing their clue, the person whose turn it is close their eyes, everyone shows each other what they wrote, any duplicates are then erased. And that's the twist, right? That's the fun part of it. And so then they open their eyes and they see, and they just get one guess as to what the word is. And this game is just fantastic. It worked with my family. It worked with my friends. It worked with my friends and family. It worked with all of them. It's just so easy to just pick up and explain and just go. And we're actually pretty good at it. Like, it's pretty easy to get the word if you're trying to think outside the box. A couple examples. We had two rounds of this. One go so well and one just completely bomb, and they were one after the other. The first round, the word was rock. I put the word the rock. And come to find out, someone else put Dwayne. I think that was my dad. Yep. And then someone put Johnson, but none of us put duplicates. So when we all turned around to see what we said, we had everything but rock. We had Dwayne, we had the blank, and then we had Johnson. It was incredible. Okay, like it was just this weird, like we were all in sync. It was a beautiful moment.
Like the mind.
Like the mind.
Yep.
The next round, complete opposite. The word was metal. Every single person in my family, there were 6 people playing, put the word heavy.
Yep.
No one put like iron or steel. we all put heavy. So we all erased it, and they didn't have any clues, and it was absolutely hilarious.
I was going to ask
Anyway,
you about
it's
that
great.
in terms of like,
Yeah.
have you ever had a round where everyone just said the same thing? To me,
Yeah.
and that's crazy that just they don't get anything. They're just like have to just say something out of.
Yeah, it was, and honestly, like there weren't a lot of times where we actually had duplicates, which was a challenge because we just know we have to think differently. There's somewhere you could see where someone is going to guess something, and so you try and or write a clue down, but you don't try and match it. Anyway, it's super fun. I highly recommend it. It's called Just One. It's all the hype right. Excuse me. It's all the hype right now. Highly recommend it. Play it.
I saw that at Fantasy Flight the other day.
Yeah, it's really
Thought of
inexpensive
you.
too. I think it's like $25.
Yeah.
It's worth it. It comes with markers, like whiteboard markers and small little whiteboard tents, like super good quality. It plays up to 8 people, which is great.
Nice.
Or is it 7? I don't know. Whatever you want. We can play with that number.
10.
Sure. Why not? Actually, we played with 9, which is definitely more than it's recommended. And so someone just had to sit out each round, which is not ideal, but with a big family get together, it's fine.
I see.
What have you been playing? What are some good party games you have?
Yeah, the last couple of years, I've tried to force upon my family games that I like, and that never went well at all. So I've been really trying to keep the ideas in terms of what I want to be able to present to my family and extended family, 2 party games. And this year, on my mom's side of the family, my brother and my cousin would run a whole family-wide like game thing that was mainly just like a series of silly little games that they decided they don't want to do. So they're like, hey, Ryan, you're the board game guy now, so you're going to have to think of a game for everybody. So what I did was I played... So instead of getting everybody gifts, it's just kind of like you throw $20 into like the game, and then we all would just play, and the top 3 payouts win, just because we're all too old to really just buy each other anything, and we see each other like twice a year. So that's just how it works. So this year, what I decided to do was I took a cue from the Dice Tower and I bought Wits and Wagers.
Ooh,
Yep.
I always wanted to play it, but I never have.
Yeah, so how Wits and Wagers work is that you divide up into teams, or you can play by yourself, depending on how many players play. And so in this case, like with my mom's extended family, like with all the cousins and things, like it's like 25 plus people that are there with kids and stuff. And that's the great thing too, is that kids, like I think we had some cousins that were like 6-8 years old. They could totally play and participate, because how this works is that there is someone that like, so I acted kind of as like the game master, and I said, okay, you read a question, right? And it's like, how fast is the world's fastest elevator, right? No one, like, who knew that an elevator could go faster than like 5 miles per hour, right? But anyways, it's like 39 miles per hour, spoilers, okay?
That's a fast elevator.
Yeah, it is a fast elevator. And so what ends up happening is that everyone has their own marker sheet, and they put their guess down and they submit it on the table face down. Then it all gets flipped over and revealed. And then what ends up happening is that each team has 2 betting chips at 200 and 100. And what they can do is they can then bet on themselves if they know they have the right answer, or they can bet on someone else's answer. And so what ends up happening is everybody puts their betting chips out, and then the real answer is revealed, and the person who is closest that doesn't go over, which is Price of Right style, wins. And so they count up. First, they count who got it right. They get a point, or 100, or however, whatever type of monetization it is. And then whoever bet on them, so like if you put like your 200 chip on there, you get 2 points. If you put your 100 chip on there, you get 1 point. And so then that's how the game goes for 7 rounds. My mom's side of the family has a very they're a very vocal family, and so everyone though seemed to really enjoy that. So Wits and Wagers is one of my party game suggestions that works really well on like large family events like mine, like 20 plus people.
I just realized I've totally played that game. I had no idea that was Wits and Wagers. I've heard of Wits and Wagers a ton, and I played it before I was even into board games. A buddy of mine invited. He lived across the street, and we played this. and this is the guy who I ended up playing game nights at his house when I started getting into board games, because he was actually into board games.
Whoa.
Wits and Wagers. I got to go get a copy of this game.
There you go,
sounds
dude.
wonderful.
There's like a collector's edition that's pretty cool, but I mean, you can pick up the regular version for like anywhere, like Target, Walmart, any of those places. So.
I saw a giant mat of it at my game store, like a big rollout, a neoprene mat that would work for it.
Yeah, there's like
cool.
there's like really blinged out versions of that game. So
Wits and Wagers, that's cool. So when I was playing, so this was a gift from my wife. She got me a copy of Secret Hitler, which I have not had in my collection ever. And it's okay. So this has been a very prolific game. It's been around for a while and super, super popular. People who aren't really in the hobby know about this game. It's so popular that it was being counterfeited on Amazon. That's how popular this game was.
Yep.
But this is your classic hit and roll game, made popular by Werewolf, made popular by Resistance. This is most like the Resistance or Avalon, where you're broken up into two teams. The teams don't know who each other are, except there are fascists and liberals. The fascists know who each other are. One of the fascists can be Hitler, which is represented by a lizard, which is hilarious. And you're just trying to pass off agendas, either fascist or liberal agendas. And people vote on the government for each round, who's the president and who is the chancellor.
Yep.
Anyway, and so there's a lot more to it. If you're really interested in games like this is probably my favorite version of this kind of game. I got burnt out on Resistance quickly, but it's great to have a game like this back in my collection. It's one that my wife enjoys and that I enjoy a ton. I played it with members of her family and with my family and friends, and it is just a great game. It's one that I'm happy I have in my collection. It's not one that I would bring out with like my family over the holidays. I think it's a bit too much for them, but with friends, and this was actually played New Year's Eve, where we just played a bunch of party games, and we played this a couple times, and I dig it. Like, I get its hype.
Yep.
The production quality is beautiful for how mass produced it really is. Like, awesome foil embossing on the cardboard and really thick cardboards, boards itself, and great cards and great artwork.
Yep.
Good chunky wooden pieces for the president and the chancellor, things like that. It's a great game. Like, I regret not having in my collection up until now, because it's worthy of all of its praise. Now it sounds like you have played this before.
Yeah, this went over really well last year with my folks, which is interesting because, again, the content of Hitler being in the game, even though he is portrayed as a lizard, it's very cartoony, right?
Oh, yeah.
I thought would kind of put them off, but they really enjoyed it still. Again, too, they're cute because when they know they're bad, they're the bad people. They definitely were kind of like quiet, more reserved, because I think it's hard to try to like pretend if you're a good guy or bad guy. So, but it didn't make the game any less fun. It's a great game. There's like a wooden box version that I'm actually really sad that, there's always like those like collector's versions. There's like one that came in like a laser etched wood box that I kind of was like, oh, that would have been really cool. But
beautiful.
But it still doesn't matter, because like just the mass produced copy is still a really great production to be had regardless. So
yeah, it's great. Secret Hitler by, I don't know who it's by. I Google it, find it for yourself.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it was published by the same people who did Cards Against Humanity, and they're basically at a point where like Max Temkin was the guy who created it. They have a company. I just don't know who they distribute with. I know. Yeah.
That's funny because Max Temkin actually just popped into my head. So hold on. I'm just going to look as you talk about your next game.
Yeah, so as I said in my previous game, it's
called Goat, Wolf, and Cabbage.
Yeah, see, that's so weird. I don't ever really think of them. Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, I don't really know what they do publishing-wise.
Goat, Wolf, and Cabbage. I'm sorry to interrupt. Continue.
Yeah. So the next game I want to be able to talk about is a little kind of take on Blackjack called That's Not Lemonade by Matt Fantastic and Tuesday Night Games. This was something that for $10 I just kind of threw my money at it and was like, we'll see what happens with it, because I was at Origins. I got a little demo. The guy who did the demo was fantastic, and I was like, screw it. I'm just going to go ahead and back a copy. This is kind of like a family-friendly version take of Blackjack, where What you're trying to do is you burn a card. So it's just like a card with like, I don't know how many cards, like 20 so odd cards, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. And you have like cutesy little cups that you use that kind of denote whether you are still in the game, whether you're out, or whether you passed. So very much like blackjack, what you're doing is the dealer asks, do you want to hit or pass? If you hit, you get a card face down that you look at. If it is a lemon card or an ice cube, you keep it. If it is a That's Not Lemonade card, which are 4 of them in the deck, you have to reveal it and you're out for that round. And the game just kind of continuously goes around until essentially everyone passes or everyone's out of the game. Whoever has the most lemons is the winner of that specific round, and you just kind of keep going until you stop feeling like playing the game. So there was a little tumultuous time of being able to explain the game because a lot of my folks really look at blackjack and being like, hit me, hit me, hit me, pass, right? It's not like that. It's you have your turn to hit or pass, goes on to the next person, and just kind of ropes around that way. The explanation of the game didn't go as well as I thought I had done. But as we started playing, people really got into this game. A lot of my family members commented afterwards that both games, with Wits and Wagers and That's Not Lemonade, are both really great games that they could play with everyone, adults and kids alike. So again, having my cousins that was like 14 years old, 13, 14 years old, to my cousins who are a little older than me, to my uncle who's in his 50s, my dad who was playing, like they all understand what blackjack is. And they were able to, I think, gravitate towards this game and get it after some stumbling with the rules and explanation of how it works. But beyond that, That's Not Lemonade by Matt Fantastic and Tuesday Night Games was a hit. I think it's a game that could easily devolve into a drinking game. Like you fill that cup up with like hard liquor, and if you're out, you have to take the shot, right? Like so easily can be done. But yeah, that's just how I kind of saw it as too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, check it out.
Yeah,
I know
awesome.
Kickstarter backers got it. I don't know if you can get it yet, but Tuesday Night Games also did Tomb Room and a Boom. If you ever played that game.
Okay, I'm actually really interested in that game.
That's
with big groups.
Yep, I played it at Halloween, 2 Rooms and a Boom, and you just have to be social. If you're kind of an introvert, it's a little bit harder. You have to kind of like, so 2 Rooms and a Boom is a game where there's a president and there's a bomber, and you, after certain many rounds, the objective is for the blue side, for the president to be away from the bomber, and the red team is trying to get the bomber and the president in the same room. And there's different ways that you can kind of reveal your identity card. And so we played at Halloween, and we had the upstairs people and the downstairs people, and there's like this whole like hostage trading thing where the leaders of both groups, like after a set period of time, like come together and like, we have your hostages, and you just like do this hostage swap, and then you have to like talk to each other and be like, hey, can you show me your card? And people can say yes or no, like it's totally you to do that. But then people start like the extroverts start to kind of lead the way, and the introverts are kind of like, I don't know what to do. Two Rooms and a Boom is a neat game. I think it's a really fun game, but it like you have to have like 10 people to play that game, otherwise it doesn't really work. So,
is the copy you have the one with the clear cards?
No, I don't. This was played at someone else's house.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to get it. I've just heard the ink rubs off those cards really easily. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I'm going to add it to my list. I'll just leave them. Yeah, that sounds cool. Cool. I'll check that out. So for me, I'm going to end on one of my favorite party games, which I just want to talk about as a party game. I didn't play it this last couple of weeks, but I just want to add my voice to how much I love this party game, and that is Cash and Guns.
Yep.
I think I have the second edition or whatever, but the reason this game is beautiful is because it gives you an excuse to point foam guns at each other.
Yes, it does.
It's just this game is just so beautiful. So I've played it with friends at work before, and they really enjoyed it. I played with people I don't even know, and it works great. So what it is, it's after a heist, and there are a bunch of cards in the middle that represent the loot that you have, and you're all trying to get the most loot from this heist. So every round, everyone at the beginning of the game is given 8 cards, 5 blank cards, and 3 bang cards. I think that's the right ratio. Mm-hmm. And the bang cards, you're trying to bluff that you're actually going to shoot people. So everyone holds their guns in the air, and then on the count of 3, they all point their guns at someone, and that's the person that they're going to shoot. And the people, if you have a gun pointed at you, you have to choose if you're going to stay in the round or go out of the round. If you stay in and get shot, you're out anyway, but you lose a life. If you bow out and you actually do get shot at, you actually don't take a wound, but you're still out. If you take 3 wounds, you're out of the game completely. So there's a high risk there as well. And so there's just this great bluffing, and you're just pointing at people. There's always the Godfather each round, and they have like an ability to have someone change who they're pointing at, which is really interesting. It's light, it's fun, it's easy to explain. It gets people going because you just get to like everyone. It's without a doubt, every single time I play this, someone always points to someone and then turns their gun to the side, gangster style.
Yep,
and it just happens every single time. It always happens. The components are great. So there are a couple expansions out for it, which I don't find necessary. Maybe to increase player count, but that's about it. But it's just a great game. I believe it's a reskin of an older game called Samurai Sword something.
Never heard
it
of
was it was a sword themed game instead of guns. But anyway, that's Cash and Guns. It sounds from your mumbles of agreement over there that you've played it before.
Yep, I played it. Yeah, there's different kind of unique rules to the game, but what I found about this game is that I played this in my earlier days where there was a lot of drinking involved, and at that point, it didn't seem like anyone was really interested in wanting to be able to get into some of the side rules and things that can happen. So it was just basically like, hey, play a card. Do you shoot someone or not? Yay. If not, okay, and then move on. You know, it's just like that's all people cared about. People just cared about pointing things at people, and I mean, that's cool and all. It just kind of was it was like with you and the Resistance, I kind of got over it. But I think now I'd have a better appreciation for it. I think especially if I played it with a group now that
is into games and stuff.
Yeah. And it's not like I didn't have fun playing it with people that weren't into games. It was just kind of one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm kind of moving on, just checking other things out. So that's totally fine.
Yeah, it's great. And there's other party games that like I got a copy of Deception Murder Hong Kong for Christmas, and there's just other games I just love. I'm really enjoying party games lately. It kind of took me a while to really get into them, but I've just been, I don't know, I really love them. What's one more that you want to talk about?
Yeah, the last one that I wanted to be able to quickly talk about that I've kind of already made mention to that I got to play a lot this holiday season was Catch the Moon. Catch the Moon is a Bombix game that you are essentially trying to catch the moon by placing these ladders intertwined with each other to essentially grab a moon that doesn't exist, but essentially is Jenga in reverse, where you roll a die, you either have to place a ladder randomly from this box that can either only touch one ladder, must touch 2 ladders, or has to be the highest point in the figure that you're building. But it has to touch 1 or 2 ladders. It can't touch any more than that. And this is a game where it just gets it's as I said in previous podcasts, I think I've talked about this. It's one of those games where whether, it's as an equal of an art piece as it is a board game, where every single time you play this game, it's like you can leave it out and it's just like a nice little art piece that's there, and you can kind of tear it down and play it. It takes like 15 to 30 minutes, even with like 2 to 4 people. I've probably played this game like 10 or 15 times during the Christmas and New Year's break. I even got friends of ours who visited from Chicago to come back and actually purchase a copy. That's how much they like that. So that's always cool when that happens, where that influence just kind of pours over and they end up getting it for themselves and sending me a text being like, hey, check this out. This is one of the best games ever, right? And they had some crazy combination of like half the thing was like off the whole like cloud plastic thing. It's just takes the greatest pictures. It's a fantastic game that you can find pretty much online through online retailers, or some game stores carry it. But Catch the Moon by Bombix just wholeheartedly just replaces Jenga for me, right?
Oh yeah.
Just don't ever get the jumbo size version of this game, because there will probably be a death.
Like with actual ladders.
With actual ladders. Yep.
Yeah, it does look beautiful. I've seen there's a few copies at my local game store here, and I've been tempted because I love beautiful games like that are just simple to execute, super relaxing. Yeah, it looks great.
Yep.
I'm tempted about that. Well, also, this has been, hey, it's good to be back. It's been a while. It's been like a month.
We had the holidays to relax, compose ourselves, enjoy time with family and friends, eat a lot of
Figure
sugar
out what
cookies.
the crap we're doing. Oh, so much sugar.
Yep. Yeah. Getting back into the swing of things with the Jime.
I didn't miss a day.
Drink some Flagon.
Have some of that Flagon.
Some of that Flagon.
Hey, where can people find us on social media? By the way, you're totally carrying us on social media. I really need to up my efforts, but you are doing great.
Yeah, you know what? You should start paying me for this stuff. Just send me like $5 a post. That will get me much more motivated. You can find us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Those are going to be the biggest places. Again, this whole podcast will be uploaded in segments to YouTube. You can then pick and choose your favorite segment. You'll find us on Board Game Geek as well. Board Game Geek, that's a thing. That's a website. We've created a podcast. If you do the whole Board Game Geek podcast, which I know all of you guys do, you know, you have a Board Game Geek account and you're like, the only way that I'm getting my Board Game podcast is only through the podcast section of Board Game Geek. You can find us there for sure. We also have a Board Game Geek Guild. Huzzah! I should hop on there. You should be. I don't know if I actually made you a founding member. Maybe I just won't.
Here's the thing. I commit to you this day at what time is it? I have no idea what time it is right now. But I will commit that I will put more effort into social media. I legit took pictures of all the games I played over the holiday. Didn't post a single of them. So I'm going to...
That's just backfill.
I will.
It's
just backfill.
You could just post it as if you just played it. No one will know. No one will know. Yeah, this part of the episode, this is behind the scenes curtains that you're now being witness to, right?
Professionals.
Yeah, absolutely. That we need to have little mini badges you can purchase for Geek Gold.
Oh, I got to make those. Yeah,
you can have little lefty and little righty. You know, in terms of our little pawns, and they come together, and then you can strategically position them in your geek avatar. But yeah, check us out. Drop us some of them bells or the subscribe, subs, what have you. It helps us out. It really helps us out, guys.
It really helps us out.
It really, just please. I have to feed my dog. Do you want my dog to go hungry? Because if you don't hit that subscribe button, my dog will go hungry.
The more subscribers we have, the easier it will be to catch Coney.
Coney 2012.
Coney 2012.
Yep. Yeah, the more subscribes we get, the faster Trump will be out of office. Whoa, what are you doing? Oh, no, you put politics in this mess. Oh,
no,
dear.
Come on.
I'm out. That's it.
One thing I did put in this is look how good my beard looks.
Yeah, dude, I was going to say it's still continuing to rock. You've got a pretty fancy beard.
No, what? Okay, I'm gonna put more of me on social media. That's what I'm gonna do. Who cares about what games I'm playing? I'm just gonna do headshots of me with like the game in the background. That's what I'm gonna do. You're welcome, world.
I'm very happy you're gonna do this. And when you do, like, if you're gonna do an Instagram story, just be in like that awkward position where it gets you from the chin up. So like you have the triple chin going. You're like, guys, I'm gonna talk to you about our game right now. And then you show you're like, let me figure this out, and then you scare your wife because that's what you do.
Yeah, that's good.
Poor Valerie.
All right, poor Valerie, poor wife.
Puts up with. Does she like the beard?
She does. Well, she says she does. So I've shaved this once in my life, like straight to skin, and she hated it. So she likes some. This is, I don't know what this is. It's just one Sunday morning I decide not to shave, and it just goes.
Yeah, that's actually. I was supposed to tell you that I have a picture of me with my longest beard. I didn't show you last time, so after this call, I'm going to show you.
All right. I want to see it.
Okay, this went completely off the tracks.
Everyone have a great evening. Yep. Thanks for listening to our ramblings.
Yep, indeed. Have a good one. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening. Music intro is See You Play by Fantastic Plastic Machine, and music bumpers were created by myself using Apple Loops and GarageBand for iOS. Join us next week and see if anyone listens this far on another exciting episode of Rolling Devils Podcast.